on a more personal basis. I'm about to ask Hassan a question. He has no idea what it is. He does so much better off the cuff. But I kind of take that back. You're off the cuff. We don't know what he's going to say. So let's see what happened. You know, we work with so many people who have resentment problems in their marriage, and we see it coming from all kinds of different places. Do you recall our first episode of resentment that showed up in our own marriage?
Yeah, I got a resentment now. You ain't cut my hair.
Okay, Hassan, please don't make this about you. Come back.
Okay. All right.
Do you recall?
Which one?
We actually haven't had that many.
We had a few.
But, I mean, of course, we know one big one. But I think we would agree on that one. And when we say the one big one, yes, I do, Rima. I do. I cut his hair. And I have not cut it in maybe about 2 weeks. Now, he can do his mustache, but I do his hair, and I groom his beard, and I try to take care of his skin. So,
dang, you telling all my business.
I tried.
I'm telling all my business. You don't get to go.
Well, what? I don't think there's anything wrong.
She just asked you to get you cut my hair, baby. That's
because I think of hair, skin, and nails. All of those things go together.
She said cut my hair.
Yes, the answer is yes. You want me to keep it right there?
There you go.
Okay, so back to, we did have one big one that we both agree on. Can you think of another one? I know that when we first got married, both of us were, thank you, Rima. Rima said, that's great. I think so too. I believe, I know for both of us, like the first 6 months to a year after we married, we were both shocked by some things. And it wasn't shocked as if we felt like, we used the word then particularly, you lied to me. Because that's what
people say.
That's what people say.
What you laughing?
Because the sister told me to give you my hat.
I know, right? I know, right? Seriously. See, I ought to go out and get my Kango right now. Just put it on.
I would. But this is the problem. I'm still in the process of taking out my braids.
Yeah. Tell the truth.
And one side of my scarf is a little fluffier than the other.
Yeah.
So
transparency.
Yeah, this is transparency. So, this hat was to actually bring some stuff down. But we talking about the camel hump. I got a natural one. To bring it in, because over here. So this hat is really helping me out today.
Okay.
And we were shocked, and most people use the word lie. You lied to me. Thank you, Tamika. That's my college roommate.
Hey, roommate.
You too, baby. We use the word lie because people say it all the time. You lied to me. You lied to me. And it wasn't that anyone lied to anyone. It really was. We actually did some of the same things that other people don't do. We didn't talk about
certain things. We felt like we talked about everything and didn't really talk about nothing when it really comes.
I mean, we actually covered a lot more than many people because, I mean, we got a little age on us and we had some experience coming into this, and both of us did bring a background to this. Both of us did bring a relationship background and some professional expertise.
Right.
So yes, we were still better, but we did for about the first year. We were like a deer in headlights, shell shocked. And I know for me, there were times where I would definitely say things to you that it was hurtful.
Right.
Because
I used to think that you were, I just for some reason thought you were further along in doing certain things than you probably were. And, I was like, God, yeah. You know what I mean? And then certain things that you would say to me, I'm like, man, nobody talk to me like that. You know what I mean? And sure, you know, okay, let me really mean, but who the hell she thinks she is talking to me like that? You know?
Okay, and when he says further along, let me make sure that I know what it is that you mean, because are you talking about the religious stuff? Okay, so what about that he means is that religiously, he and I actually agree on a lot of things. And so people look at me and they don't think that I have very conservative religious beliefs, but actually I do. I am quite conservative when it comes to my beliefs in regard to religion. I grew up in the Holiness Church, y'all. I mean, and I brought a lot of that stuff with me. Some of it I left behind because it wasn't applicable, but I came from a place of conservatism in regard to spirituality, and then I transitioned to another one Islamically. And so Hassan, he's looking at me and he's hearing what I'm saying as a Muslim, but then, you know, I show up with my hat. And sometimes it, remember that hot pink left animal print when I had? And so for him, it's like, okay, how do we get, you know, someone who has, you know,
this understanding doing these type of things, right? And I was baffled.
I'm like, hey, don't get it twisted. I want to know how this is haram. Gee, you know, how is this sinful? So, and that's what he means by that. I wanted to make sure we got clarity on that. And so we got very upset at times with each other, and I think that was the initial resentment. And then we had a really big episode to happen between us that actually literally tore us apart. We had one, it was a couple of years ago now. So this is the question. What is it, because it showed up in our marriage, what is it between us that makes us different from the other people? Because we're still sitting here.
Yeah, I mean, but we understand even though there's hurt and pain, there's still work to kind of recover from it. And so I believe that's been the glue, so to speak. It's not as if you probably couldn't get married to somebody else if we wasn't married today, and you know, probably neither could I. And if that's the case, but you know, especially everybody being in your inbox trying to holler at you anyway. Anyway, that's a whole nother subject. I need to stop that. But anyway, so it's not as if we're not people who someone else wouldn't mind being with. So cutting losses wouldn't be a big issue. But what I believe has been a mainstay in our relationship, even in the ups and downs, or whatever you want to call it, we understood that work has to be done. And the work to get beyond the resentment and the contempt. Because, okay, I'm just going to keep this real. We've talked about this before. I'm settling in now. We talked about this before, but I used to feel that you had contempt for me based upon my upbringing and my background.
Okay, and so what he talks about when he says his upbringing, we come from two very different cultural backgrounds. You know, I'm the Southern.
She country. She called her Southern Belle. She country.
I'm a Southern Belle from rural North Carolina. I was raised a certain way. There are certain things that I'm very big on tact. And you know, and manners, and not saying Hassan doesn't have any.
Right, but
he was about street code.
Right, and that was serious for them. That was serious for me, and that's not to say that. And I used to believe what put some resentment in it for me was I used to believe that she thought her standards were higher than mine. And I used to look at her, I used to look at her looking at me like, how the hell did I get here with you? You know?
I actually said that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's
you know
what I
mean?
meant when I said things that were hurtful.
You know, I'm like, shoot, I think you done came up dealing with me, you know. But, you know.
But we also recognize that at another time, our paths probably would never have never crossed. And, you know, I wouldn't have seen him. He wouldn't have seen me. We probably would have had absolutely no
interaction whatsoever
with each other because we were just, you know, in two different spaces. You know, I always say that he's the dude that my mama warned me about.
Right.
And then he reminds me, your mama loves me. But that's because he doesn't act like that dude then. He's a different man today.
She would have loved me then, but we don't keep that between us. We don't keep that between us.
But I think, and before I even asked this question to you, I thought about it too, and I agree with what you said. I remember it took us about 48 hours, and I'm going back to the really bad one, okay? It took us about 48 hours, but we quickly made the decision that we were not discussing divorce. We knew it was possible, but we weren't talking about it. I don't recall threats for it.
Right.
And we made the decision who we were going to go to. We got them in quickly, and we went from there. We came up really quickly with some resolution for what we were going to do outside of ourselves.
And it was not a situation where it was overnight.
Oh no!
You know, it was months, months. It's a minute. You know, and as the world was seeing us still moving on, we were still working on our stuff from that situation. But we understood then, though. Well, for me, I'm not going to speak for her, but for me, it was one of the things I felt like, well, the solution is in place. This is what a mess up took place. Do the work, and let's try to resolve this issue.
And which is pretty much the very same things that we talk about and that we teach. And it can be really hard to put those same things into practice when you're in it. And that's why we are so empathetic with it. The other part of this is that while we are sharing this part of us, we never want anyone to believe that our marriage is perfect.
Right.
It's not perfect. Now, do we have some things in place that are better than many others?
Sure.
Yes. And it's not because we're better people. It is just because that we do some things that other people don't do. Exactly. And that's the thing that makes us different from others. And so when we do this class on Thursdays at 8:15 on Thursday, we are saying this from two perspectives. One, a personal one, and a professional one. And you have the benefit of hearing both experiences and us being able to say, this is where this is going to get tough.
Right.
This is where this is going to stink really bad. This is where this one that we did, it may not even work for you. So guess what? Because of what we do, we can give you something else that you can try. I think the other thing I wanted to say is that I believe one of the hugest things that people ignore is the amount of time that it takes to recover from this.
Exactly. And I don't want people, because there might be someone who's not married on this, who actually needs it because they're dealing with some resentment and some other issues and some other. And I mean, I've even had to work through those type of issues myself outside of a relationship with my father, with, you know, and some relatives or whatever the case may be, where I really resented some of the things that happened
during your childhood.
Exactly. And so I had to really work on that to be in a position of, before, you know, that person passed away, but before they were able to do this. And we want to talk about some of that too, because the same thing in resentment that it takes in a relationship goes in all relationships.
The process does not change. I think the only difference that may be outside of a marriage is that when it deals with family and friends, there may be only one person working on it. But with us, it's two people which can actually complicate it.
Exactly.
Because the two of you are going through the same process, but not the same speed.
Right.
And so I'm at one place, he's in another. He thinks I should be along faster than I am. I want him to catch up. I want him to be empathetic. And then we have another one. After we had that incident and we're going through the process of healing from our issue of resentment, Hassan's sight dramatically declined. Dramatically. And so then we were dealing with there was little overlap.
Right.
Okay, and then I had another level of resentment to come up.
Took place.
And not because you were losing your sight, but because of the other experience. There's a lot that comes with being able to have an ability, something that you are able to do, and to lose it. And there's so much that comes with it, and including grief. And so we were working on resentment. Now we got grief. Right. That is going in
dealing with all the stages of the grief.
All the stages of grief, including the physical parts, the physical changes that you were going through. So why do I say all of that? It's not about us. This is about while you are dealing with resentment, guess what? Something else could come in to create even more resentment or to distract you from where you are. You may think this new issue is so big and it is so monumental, you need to ignore and put your healing on pause. So that you can deal with this, and then you don't go back and pick it up.
Exactly.
No. We can't do that. All right. So, Rima, she said her husband used to tell her she was a goody two shoes. Wa alaikum salam, Aisha. Happy to have you. You think I'm a goody two shoes?
No.
He knows too much.
No.
I ain't always been Muslim. He knows too much.
But here's the thing. That's a part of the resentment. Because that was the presentation.
Yes, because
that was the presentation. I was like, oh my God, no, where's she at? You know what I mean? Where that other lady at? You know what I mean? And so, but that's not to say. I mean, everybody have their best foot forward when they're courting or when they're trying to make their best impression, and then real life comes in. So it was for me to sit there and say, how do I now recover from that situation where I thought it was this, but then it's that.
And for us, it was never a deal breaker. It was never about, because I thought it was going to look, feel, and smell a certain way, that means that I tap out. No, I mean, I've been to places where it's like, look, I don't like this. I don't like the way she do this chicken. I'm not eating this. But did I just stop and say I will never eat chicken again? No. So because I had an instance or one or two instances where we saw something within the other person that
you gave us some pauses.
That didn't mean that we would totally get rid of that person. Yeah, because there were still some things that we liked. We also knew that there were other people involved. There are children that are involved. And I think the key thing, and I don't know about you, but I'm speaking for me, I really, really did come to this for the sake of God. And I didn't believe that I had exhausted that to its root. Right. For the sake of God means I went in it with good intention. God didn't make it look the way I thought it was going to look, and I need to leave. I knew that God knew what this situation was going to look like before I came in it.
Well, and I think one of the words I used to always use, I kind of learned it from you, but acceptance.
I used to say, and he would do something, and I would sit there, and I would say, I'm working on my acceptance. I would say, I would try to have acceptance. I'm just working on my acceptance. Because I couldn't fix everything. Mm-hmm. So key thing here is acceptance. I don't have to announce it anymore.
Right. Yeah, I know it. Okay, that she over there accepting right now, so she be all right. You know what I mean?
But and so we always talk about doing things for the sake of God. Mm-hmm. But so much of that is accepting what God puts in place mm-hmm. for you, because mm-hmm. I knew God knew what this was going to look like. Mm-hmm. And I needed to accept that vision. Even though I had seen it for the first time, he knew before I walked into this, and he still